Hi, I'm Arish Singhvi, a rising junior at MBA, and today I'm here with Mr. Brad Gioia. Everyone who's watching likely knows him, and after 29 years of leadership and service at MBA, he'll be retiring. And on behalf of MBA, I think I can safely say that we're all devastated that someone so important to our community and its foundations is leaving, but we're also excited to see the great things that Mr. Joya will accomplish in the next chapter of his life. We're in conversation with Mr. Joya today to hear about his perspectives and words of wisdom for the MBA community. Mr. Joya, thank you so much for being here.
I'm very pleased to be here.
So, I guess I'll get started. You have a couple of weeks in left in your time at MBA, and it's been a tremendous journey. Looking back at your time here, but also to the future, how are you feeling right now?
Well, I love being here, and I don't think people will be devastated. I just hope they think that maybe I left MBA a little better than I found it, and uh, and I've also realized, as I think anyone listening to this will also uh, learn, that we're just fortunate to inherit roles in our lives, and we don't own them. We just have the privilege of being in these roles, and uh, you want to be grateful for what you're doing. And it would I'd be dishonest if I didn't say, there's this constant tension of thinking that the end is in sight. Early this morning, I took our dogs for a walk through the campus around six something, and it was a little surreal because we've moved from our house across the street to a new townhouse down the road. And so I walked from there, and, walking through the campus, you're very conscious that, the days are short now in terms of your own time. But I have worked particularly hard at reminding myself that I should enjoy this time, and that, it's kind of like the advice people are often given. I read a quotation early this morning. Each day is a gift, and you ought to appreciate that day, and not have any regrets about the time, except that you perhaps made somewhat of a difference. And so that's the way I think I'm trying to look at this.
Yeah, that's great. I love how you always see the positive in everything. And speaking of some of your positive memories at MBA, what would you say are some of your favorite traditions and or memories from MBA from your time here?
Well, there are a lot, and I'm grateful that you said at least two, because if you said one, it's always hard when somebody asks you, what was your favorite part of that trip, or what's your favorite food, or whatever. You just, you like a lot of different things in life, and just like we enjoy a lot of different people for various reasons. Um, I think that I am thankful that I've had this long journey, because you never can be assured that you're going to have that length of time. And I learned that pretty dramatically when I went through some cancer treatment, and that was very serious, and you kind of didn't know what was going to happen from one day to the next. And then when you realize that, okay, you can get through some of this, and then you have more time to enjoy life and your work. I know that I am grateful for the ways in which I've gotten to know people and the school and the school's history over time. So that sense of tenure has been very special to me. Uh, Clearly, so I'm probably going to give you three things that are important to me. Uh, Clearly, being part of a lot of the building, and whether that's the physical buildings, or that is developing programs like the exchange programs or the Wilson grants, uh, providing those opportunities, they have been really meaningful because they last. They're not just a one shot event. There are many, many students that will be able to enjoy this, that will influence them and it will influence other people. And so you've got to see that you're kind of affecting eternity in a way because it's going to last for a long time. And then thirdly, a lot of the traditions I've been involved in developing, the ring ceremony, the mother's father's dinners, uh the Van Webb race around the quadrangle, all of those types of traditions kind of, I think, speak to the spirit of a boys' school and speak to the spirit of a community. And that's all been really important to me. I guess I should lastly say, since I'm multiplying the numbers from what you asked, I think that it's been a real blessing to develop the culture at the school because I didn't realize at the beginning how important it would be for me and the community to say it doesn't matter if you play in the jazz band or if you are a debater or if you're an artist or if you are someone interested in lacrosse or football or wrestling or theater, it's all important. And even better than just saying that, it doesn't seem like it's sort of an empty mission. It seems that the students understand that. And the joy of that is that you're really going to develop better people because if they have the empathy, I mean, if somebody, let's say, loves debate and music, but they're never going to be an offensive lineman on the football team, but at least they can appreciate what that's about and enjoy the spirit of it and realize that okay, maybe our society will be much much better if people have that empathy and awareness. And so that's also been incredibly meaningful to me and important.
Wow, that's a great perspective. So you spoke of some of the changes or continuity perhaps about the culture of MBA. Would you say that that's perhaps one of your, or other than that, what are some of your favorite accomplishments from your time at MBA? Or
Well,
perhaps is that the biggest one?
yeah, I'd say it'd be easy to point to the buildings and the acreage because I've been here for a long time. I've been able to work on all the buildings and build new buildings, and they're they're fun because you see something going up. It's amazing to watch uh, the people as the buildings were going up because we're all kind of like little boys, and I mean that in a pure sense. Like 5, 6 year old boys just watching the trucks and seeing the bricks come together in the buildings. But what's really important about that is that you're providing a lot of space for people to find their homes and to find uh, a tangible way in which the school says, I care about you. So if you have a debate center and the debaters think, hey, my school cares about debate, that's important. Or if the rifle team says, look, we have a rifle center, they're not just giving lip service to that you have a rifle team. They are really investing their interest in you. And if you have a mock trial room, if you have a really great theater, if the music program feels genuinely supported, that makes a tremendous difference. And I think maybe most of all, I've learned that it's great to have a number of merit scholars. It's great for kids to get into prestigious schools. That's all, important and part of the reason people come to a place like MBA. But I think ultimately they would be disappointed if the school weren't interested in who they are and cared about who they are and had a sense that the school is very aware that college, a lot of those prestige symbols are simply subsets of building good people. And I'd say that has been really important to me.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, behind all your accomplishments, I'm sure you've also faced some challenges, setbacks, obstacles over the years. So, what would you say is your approach to overcoming such setbacks?
I think you have to. recognize that that's part of life, and that you are going to have setbacks and disappointments. And it doesn't mean it's easy or that it gets easier, because when you are faced with challenges, it's hard. But if you have a bigger perspective that those challenges can, in fact, uh, build resilience, uh, and you understand that you can get through these challenges if you stay the course, if you find your true north in terms of your values and your mission, and you realize people can help you, and that you can't do things alone. And if you think you can, I think you're going to get even more disappointed, because we need others to help us when things are hard and challenging. Clearly, when I got very sick, uh, I realized in a multitude of ways that whatever strength I had couldn't just win and couldn't defeat this. That you needed the help of good medicine, you needed the help of a positive spirit, you needed family and friends and a community to support you, and that helped a great deal. And then you realize you can get a lot of good out of the tougher times. Like, you go through some real challenges and you gain empathy for others. And there's probably not too much more important than that empathy or humility. I was telling people last week that I sat in the hospital room recently, and they were taking blood and checking me out at a cancer clinic. And you look around that room and you recognize we're all the same. It doesn't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what race you are literally all the same in that room. And that humility, I think, is really important. And I think that the challenges we face sometimes teach us humility in ways that are very important and, in fact, strengthening. And the wisdom of remembering that vulnerability actually provides strength is critical. And it's also very informative about a boys' school, because the traditional notions of boys and men have been that they ought to be tough, that masculinity is about being really strong and kind of facing life's difficulties. But the paradox is, when you're vulnerable and when you're humble, you can, in fact, be much stronger, because you have an understanding that is greater than any kind of masculine stereotype from the past. So I think those are critical topics as well.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. And then you just talked about relationships a little bit and their importance in accomplishing a lot of things, overcoming challenges. What's your advice for MBA students to be able to build authentic, long-lasting relationships? And
I
that could
think
be with their family, with people in their community, etc.
I think you have to make a conscientious effort, and I think it has to be done with great perseverance, because relationships must be constantly tended to, and they can't be taken for granted. And you have to be genuine and authentic with others and say, look, I care about you, I need your help, and to be open to that. And I think that's another interesting perspective about males. We don't often ask for help, we think we can do everything by ourselves. And I think that those values I have wanted to adopt more and more for the school, because I think teaching young men, to do anything as maybe trivial as, ask for help when you get lost, ask others to uh, give you guidance, be open to being mentoring, because I think that's where you can gain a lot of wisdom. You don't learn a lot when you talk, you learn a lot when you listen. And I think the more we listen and the more we're open to authentic relationships, the better. You asked me before we started about my morning, And I went out with five seniors and this junior exchange student. And you realize when you put yourself in those positions, you get more out of this because you realize how just meaningful, fun, enjoyable it is to be in the company of others, to listen to them, to understand what is going on in their lives. Those are really valuable times. And the more the time I spend with my advisees in the morning, maybe one of the most enjoyable parts of my day because you're engaged in community in a way that's genuine and regular. As I said, if you thought friendship was just okay, I like this person, and you don't nurture it, you don't develop it, you're not attentive to it regularly, I don't think that friendship will last. And I think it's just like a plant that needs water, that needs to be cared for, that needs to have an appreciation for what it is. And those are valuable perspectives about relationships.
Yeah, that's very insightful. You mentioned mentors, and I'm sure you've definitely been an important mentor to many students, but who have been some of your main important mentors over the years?
Well, I've had a lot, fortunately. When I was about your age, I was sort of seeking for a father figure because my parents were divorced, and I had a close friend whose father was a federal judge, and in a lot of ways, he reminded me of Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird. He had kind of a compassion for people, a gentleness about him, an understanding of how to help one another. The famous line that Atticus says in that book is, "You don't understand a person until you kind of walk in their shoes." And he had all of that goodness I saw. But I've been really lucky throughout my life to have people that I sought out and frankly probably sought to help me, and they were people who were involved with MBA and wanted me to succeed. And they might have helped me by, let's say, giving a donation to help build a building. But their real interest was, I want you to be successful in understanding the foundations here, not just of the buildings, but of the people. And they would mentor me and talk to me about, how you care for others and how you invest yourself in them. One of the people I really admire is a board member who lost his son in a car accident. He was actually walking across a street in New York called Houston Street, and a drunk driver hit him. And he flew up to New York and spoke at his funeral, which you can imagine would have been really challenging. Your son just dies, and you automatically say, I'm going to remember him and do it with such grace and uh, largeness of spirit. Well, he's taught me a lot about how you uh, care for others when you lose them, how you gain some strength through remembering people. And his son is the namesake of our golf tournament we have every year, and he has made it a mission to say investing in young people, investing in MBA is one of the most important things you can do. And that mantra has meant a lot to me because it's made me realize, that if you give to something larger than yourself, you'll get back more than you would ever expect. And it'll be more meaningful because you're giving to others. And, that principle of learning to think of others before yourself is another one that I think we should continue to embed in the culture at MBA.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, I'd also like to ask about some of your advice to students in terms of school and learning. How do you recommend that they get the most out of their experience at MBA or in college in order to perhaps do the things that you mentioned, like building strong relationships, but also just having success overall?
Well, I think some of the things I've said would tie into that, but I'll try to give you a short list that I hope will be a concise way of thinking about that kind of success. So I think you have to have a certain openness about who you are. You know, if you close your mind to anything, even subjects you don't like so much, you're never going to get much out of them. And so if I go into each day thinking, I'm going to learn something from this, that's important. And I think you have to have curiosity so that if you hear about a topic, I don't know whether it's, you know, what went on with the establishment of our country and who what were the founding fathers really like and what were their principles and goals, how did that vision of 1776, how has it lasted so long, you know, what has made our country so unique, what and you look beyond just the textbook and you look beyond maybe the small conversations you have in class or the limited conversations and you seek it out on your own. I think that's invaluable because ownership's really important in learning. When I begin to think that I want to possess this knowledge. I don't want to just be fed it. I'm going to become a much better student and a much better individual because I'm curious about it. I want to know. I want to be better because of it. And I think you have to adopt that point of view. I think attitude's also incredibly important because it's easy to get discouraged or cynical in life. And you have to say to yourself, I I want to believe in bettering this world for others. I want to invest in myself being a stronger and better person. And I think that that attitude on a regular basis, sometimes on a moment by moment or hourly basis, is critical. And so I think those are some of the keys. There's not one answer to your question. I think there are many, but I think some of those principles I just mentioned are golden in terms of what could make the difference for somebody. And
Okay.
I think one of the areas, for example, you like debate and are interested in that subject. You know, it's one of the few activities, perhaps the only one, where you have to argue a side that you may not believe in, and that's a really powerful uh, education in and of itself because we all like to hear what we think is the right answer. And if you can put yourself in a position of, you know, seeing somebody else's viewpoint, that's when learning occurs. And I think the more people are open and open-minded and say, you know, I want to learn about Arish's background. I want to know where he comes from and what his cultural interests are, and not just who you are, the better person you're going to be, and the more educated person you're going to be. And therein lies a lot of that curiosity, that attitude, that openness, that discovery that is going to help you be much better and stronger.
Yeah, those are some great life lessons. Actually, I'd also just like to ask you, is there any other message or anything I should be asking you about, or some other message you want to give to the MBA community that perhaps I didn't ask you about yet?
You know, you asked a lot of the kinds of questions I hope that uh, are valuable for people to think about, and I hope that my answers at least stirred some thought and perspective. I think finally I'd say that I'd have a lot of gratitude in my life for who I am and what I do and what opportunities I've been given. And I think the more you practice gratitude, the more humble you become because you realize it's not about you. It's about what you've been given or what opportunities you've had or what roles you've been able to be part of, how small or big. And I think the more humble one is and the more grateful one is, the more successful that person will be because he or she will realize that they're part of something bigger than themselves, and they will feel the the betterment of that association of being part of a larger community. They'll think less of themselves and more of others. Um, I think that you just, as I said earlier, you just really want to enjoy each day and try to remember that. And as I said to you, I've been trying to tell myself that every day these last months, and I hope I'll finish up that way.
Yeah, that's great advice. Just lastly, I'm kind of curious, what are you planning to do after your time at MBA? And is there still anything you want to do that you perhaps haven't gotten a chance to do during your time at MBA?
Well, I know that I want to spend some more time with our family. We we have four grandchildren now and a fifth on the way. My wife has obviously given a lot of time to help me and what I do, so I want to help her more and be more giving to her and our family. Uh, I probably want to do some things in the educational world. Uh, Somebody wrote me this morning about helping with some charter schools. And I said, well, I probably wouldn't mind mentoring some people who are in charge of those schools to kind of give them some perspective about what it's like to run a school. Uh, I probably will work with one of the universities here in Nashville as an educator in residence, and because it'll give me a sense of community still. And obviously I'll find ways to be connected to MBA in the right way, and not immediately because I want my successor to feel like this is his place and that I'm not crowding him, but I care about the school and I'll stay connected in some ways.
Okay. So I think that's it. So, Mr.
Great.
Joya, thank you so much for your time and thoughts. And this
Thank you.
is an extremely special conversation. I think your perspectives will be super insightful to me, the MBA community, and the future MBA community. And we can't thank you enough for your 29 years of leadership and service for MBA. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And as I said, I'm grateful to have had this time with
Thank
you
you.
and of course with MBA. Take good care. Have a good week.